What is up, guys? Your boy Free C here, and welcome to my review of Never Let Go, the latest starring Halle Berry, and is also the latest from director Alexandre Aja, who I most know him for his remake 2006 version of The Hills Have Eyes. That's the one that I mostly know him for. He's done other movies. He's one of those directors that I don't come across that much. Last one I've seen him do was 2018, I believe, Crawl. But he's one of those filmmakers that when he does show up, I get mad love for him. But again, he's not one of those directors that pops up that much. So, to each his own. And Never Let Go, that's one of those films that I was kind of 50-50 on. It wasn't something that I was just dying to go out and see immediately. As I watched the trailers, it looked interesting. It was on my radar. I knew about it for a while. It's just not one of those that kind of pulled me in. It's not one of those that kind of, just spoke to me, like The Killer's Game did. But it was on my radar nonetheless, and the more I looked at the trailers, the more I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'll go see it. It's just not one of those that was on the top of my list to see. The film centers on a mother and her two sons who are secluded in this house out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of these woods, surrounded by evil entities. So in order to survive the wilderness, they have to wrap themselves up with a rope that's tied to a house, and they cannot let go. They can never let go. Otherwise, the evil will catch them. Again, this is something that I wasn't too overly excited about, but the trailers sort of did give me that push. Just didn't push me over the edge. That's as delicately as I could put it. But it wasn't enough to go, oh man, I must see that. This looks awesome. It looks so cool. It looks amazing. No. Nothing like that. But the film, overall, it wasn't bad. I'm just a little burnt out on supernatural horror films. I miss the slashers. That's the era I grew up in. It is what it is. Unless it's Evil Dead. Now, Evil Dead, oh hell yeah. I've talked extensively about that. Yes. But it's the same old wash, rinse, and repeat. And it's like, come on. Just bring me a slasher already. Come out with the next Scream. But just how well received was this film to me? Did this light that candle in the sense that Evil Dead usually does? Or was this just another cry for help? No! No! Starting off with the positives, I do gotta say, Halle Berry, she was fantastic in this. She was pretty good. As our main female lead, the mother of the two boys, she's somebody that I've always respected. When she shows up on screen and she's in a movie that I watch, I always respect her acting skill. I think she gives great performances, and here, it's no different. I thought she did really well and Never Let Go. Like I said, she plays the mother of these two sons, sort of like the main lead of the film, of this family, and she brings this strong-willed, virile character out that only Halle Berry could do. She brings this certain assertion to the character that I think Halle Berry is pretty good at doing in all of her roles. And here, you're just with her every step of the way. The way that she performs, the way that she lets out with this character, I think she did a pretty good job. She was one of the highlights of this film. Just that tough and strong exterior to her, I really did enjoy that. I really did like. Even her two sons, and Percy Daggs and Anthony B. Jenkins, they did a really good job at making you believe that they were in danger. I don't know how old they were. They were pretty young. But for their age, they did a really outstanding job in making you feel every tragic thing that they were going through and all the horrors that they were experiencing. I thought that they held these two roles together quite nicely. I thought they dominated the screen for most of the runtime. Solid performances all the way through. And I enjoyed their presence in feeding off of each other. And I think that's where they shine the most. I think that's where the magic happened the most. Usually when you do a movie like this that revolves around a family and horrible situations, you gotta know how to feed off of each other, and I thought they did that pretty well in this. It just gave the film that edge that it needed, and I thought they pulled it off pretty well. I even liked the whole setting with the whole house being out in the middle of the woods. Kind of gave it that Evil Dead vibe with the set pieces and just the atmosphere, and it just gave it that creepy vibe that you want in a horror flick like this. Even though I know it's no Evil Dead, it's gave it that vibe. And you got an interesting concept to where you have this family out in the middle of nowhere that's surrounded by this evil, And the only way that they could survive to like go out, hunt for food, literally living off the fat of the land, is to rope themselves to this rope that's hooked to the house, which is blessed, so that the evil can't touch them. But if they let go, then all bets are off. And I thought that was a pretty interesting concept. Something that may have seemed like it's been done time and time again, but the way the movie presents itself, it was actually done quite nicely. But you just have to make sure that you never let go. Otherwise, you're dead. So yeah, I did really find that interesting. Again, going back to that jolt that a film like this needs. Just that tenseness, and it just makes it for quite a, cool concept. And I gotta talk about the jump scares. They're done pretty nice. Most horror movies are done real cheap-like, and they don't really have a purpose. They're just there to just be there, and it happens like every 5 to 10 freaking minutes. In this, it happens in the appropriate amount of time to where whenever it does happen, I jumped out of my skin, just about. Me and like a couple other couples was back behind me. I think I heard them laughing a little bit to my reactions, because I do get scared, especially if the jump scares are done right, and they were definitely done right in this film. I thought it held its own, and it wasn't cheap. It wasn't trying to be just there to be there. It was in the appropriate amount of time, and it definitely did work for me. Plenty of times where I almost jumped out of my seat and people started laughing. I think for the most part they were enjoying the movie, but they were enjoying me too. The couple behind me. But you want to feel that in a horror film like this. You want to feel that rush, those heart-stopping moments. It's like a drug. You just have to inhale as much of it as you can. For this film, they pulled that off pretty well. Moving on to my negatives, and this is more of a me thing, and I know I've said that plenty of times before. I don't feel like I've said it lately, but I do feel like the pacing was the only problem of this. If you're going to a film that's directed by Alexandre Aja, which he's come out with some gruesome films, preferably Hills of Eyes. I know I'm only basing it on that, and I do remember some, hardcore scenes in Crawl, but this one is kind of more tamed. It's not as aggressive, it's not as egregious as some of his other films are. The pacing for Never Let Go is a little bit slow. And by the second act, you do start feeling it a little bit. It does kind of start weighing you down just a bit, to where it takes a little bit before it gets to its point. After the first act or so, you start feeling it. You really do, until maybe like the last half till end of the second act, when it finally starts picking up for the third act. Just that middle section there, just a little bit sluggish. Because of the pacing, everything else is not that in your face as most of other films like this is. It does take its time, which makes the rewatch value for me a little low. It's not on the best part of the scale for me. Now, this is something that definitely surprised me. I definitely didn't think I'd like it as much as I did. I thought I would have more negatives with it. But this is something that, the rewatch value, no matter how much I said I liked it before, it's just not something that I would go out and see again. I would probably go out and see one more time if I was with a friend or a family member, and with family members. But it's just going to be what that is. It's going to be one of those movies that's probably a 1 or 2 and done deal for me. And most likely I'll probably never own it on any platforms, digital or physical. Despite all that, I actually did have a fun time in this. Like I said, it's one of those movies that really surprised me. It's one of those that I didn't think I'd like as much as I did. From the moment the trailer started, like I said, I was 50-50 on it. But after actually watching it, yeah, it's not actually that bad. It surprised me. It's one of those, I wouldn't call it major surprises of the year, but it's one of those mini surprises of the year. But despite my problems with this, I still enjoyed it. It was a good enough time for you to stream it. So, Never Let Go. What was your thoughts? Have you seen this yet? Are you a fan? Are you somebody that actually enjoyed this? Are you somebody that actually appreciated this? Are you somebody that thought it triumphed and finally got the horror genre back to where it needs, especially with the supernatural side of things? Or were you somebody that thought it was okay? Were you somebody that just didn't like it and hated it altogether? Leave me a comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for clicking here and watching this. I really do appreciate it. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Make sure to click that bell icon as always so you don't miss a thing. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.